that case, yeah, alright. In that case, I'll let you start then. Alright, ready to go in 3, 2, 1, record.
Hello, my name is Lacey Green. I would like to announce that I am fully red-pilled and I have fully integrated into the anti-SJW and skeptical community. Racism does not exist, and only brown people can be Muslim. And I uncritically and fully support Donald Trump as the president of the United States. Transgender people are sexual predators, and that the LGBT community is full of pedophiles. The wall and the Muslim ban are vital to the security of the United States, and we must secure the existence of our people and the future for white children. Because the beauty of the white Aryan woman must not perish from this earth. JonTron did nothing wrong, and Heil PewDiePie. And you have no idea what I was just talking about, do you?
No, are you quoting from somebody's manifesto or your own?
Well, first of all, before I send you the recording of this, I'm gonna go back on that and just put in just a fucking huge echo effect on that. So, I should probably give you some context. Hopefully some of the listeners have some context to this, but I should probably give you some, because you don't involve yourself in like YouTube or Twitter or drama of any sort. So Lacey Green is a YouTuber, a fairly popular YouTuber who mostly deals in like making videos about feminism and social justice, and also a lot of sex positivity videos. And she's also pretty notorious for getting on smaller YouTube channels who like badmouth her and stuff, or who are like really critical. So like she would she would like report their videos and shit. Really crappy behavior. And well, her most recent video was titled "The Most Clickbaity Way," in that she said her title was "I'm Red Pilled." And basically, she just goes on to explain that, you know, she feels that a lot of her behavior in the past was very terrible and wrong, which is good. And also that she's not completely red-pilled. She's just she's open to other people's opinions now. She's like, okay, you have these opinions that are different from mine. Why don't we talk about it? Rather than, you know, you're evil, you're wrong, fuck you, this is, you know, I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you, you know, the fairly typical behavior. And well, because of that, you've got two sides responding in very different ways. You've got the anti-SJW side saying either, oh, she's our red-pilled queen, awesome, this just goes to show you that all social justice is complete bullshit and nonsense, or they're going, she's just doing this because she wants to make money and she realizes she can't get views if she sticks with the SJW side. Or on the more feminist and social justice side, they're going, oh, she's a traitor. Oh, I didn't realize she's white. Of course she would do something like this. Of course she would stab us in the back. When all she did was say, hey, I did some really shitty things in the past, and I want to be more open to other people's opinions. So that was basically just me pretending to be her as the worst possible interpretation of her.
See, this is what happens. This is what happens when we try and understand each other. This is what happens when we try and be reasonable people.
Yeah, that's what happens. You know, I've just sort of been observing from the sidelines, and really the only thing I said about it on Twitter was like, well, I'm really glad that she's more open. She's willing to be open to other people's opinions. And that's all I had to say. she, obviously she said red pilled because, clickbait title that gets a lot of views on it, and, fucking everybody does that on YouTube. But it's like, no, that's totally fine. I think that's like a perfect stance to take. It's like you're not leaning towards any one side. You're just saying, hey, we have different opinions. Let's talk about it and have a discussion. It's like, isn't this what we should be doing? I mean, I think that would be the ideal. Wouldn't that be?
Would not the ideal be to constantly have a dialogue? Yes. More importantly, I think we've just found our title for our episode. Fucking everybody does that shit on YouTube. There we go. Fucking episode title done, out of the way. That's agenda piece number 1 finished.
I should do? I should take, because I actually wrote all of that down in my notebook app on my iPad, and I should just take screenshots of my notebook and just put them in the meta shits. I should also put up the cover because I have a notebook app, and you can have like multiple notebooks in it. And so I have a notebook called Ideas for YouTube, and it's got a couple pages of ideas, and then it has that fucking manifesto rant that I just said. And on the cover is just like a picture of a penis ejaculating. And it just says Ideas for YouTube, and it's just a penis just fucking coming. So I'm gonna take screenshots of it and put it in the meta shit. So.
Alright, before we get too far in, we should probably start with that thing we always forget, which is hello and welcome to the fucking amazing podcast, or for short, FAPcast, with your hosts, me and Bullshit.
And Persona 5 Golden Girls Edition, or otherwise known as emdefmek.
What is this? You've put a link here in our meta shit section here, Persona 5 Golden Girls. Explain this to me.
This is a tweet that came across my dashboard on Twitter. Basically, it's a screenshot from a upcoming Kickstarter game called Persona 5 Golden Girls Edition, where you get to play as the Golden Girls in Persona.
This looks amazing. Kill them.
Fuck them up, girls.
My favorite part of this tweet is that the body of the tweet literally just says, "Kickstart my game, fuck you."
Which, isn't that what Kickstarter basically is now? I mean, when you look at all the Kickstarter failures, and then, and the most recent news, Star Citizen has been put on definite hold. So, if you're one of the people who invested $148 million in that, fuck you. Fuck you. Go play Elite Dangerous.
Man, I didn't even know, like, I knew about Star Citizen, and I had looked at it, and I've been like, yeah, this game looks pretty interesting. Maybe I'll check it out when it's not an alpha anymore, and it's moved up in the ranks to beta. And I didn't realize that multi-millions of dollars had gone into that game already.
There were many different studios involved in the development of it.
I did not know that. I did not know that there had been so much money poured into that game. That makes the development, the halting of its development, even funnier.
Yeah, it's just holy shit. That's like Fire Festival, like DashCon levels of fuck you. I'm trying to think of another game that is like can top that. Honestly, I'm surprised like not a lot of people are talking about it, because I guess the only reason I think not a lot of people are talking about it is that a lot of people just sort of forgot about it. Because it's like when you look at like games like Mighty Number 9, Mighty Number 9, everybody would just it had such a vocal fan base that was just super critical of it. So like every time like it was delayed or a trailer came out showing how shitty it looked, there was just so much outcry against it. And whereas with like Star Citizen, I imagine it's partially a level of embarrassment, because there are people who were so hyped for Star Citizen because of the people behind it, the guys who did Freelancer and all that shit back in the day, that I think people are just embarrassed to admit that they invested so much time and money into it. And they just sort of just want to sweep it under the rug and pretend they never wasted all that fucking money.
The real problem here is that, like, for so long we've pumped up Kickstarter as this new alternative to the way things had been done, and even Jim Sterling, and other critics like him had gone on record in videos and in written articles stating that they were happy that Kickstarter existed because
we did the exact same fucking thing. I'll admit.
A
couple years ago
in our old podcast we did a whole episode about Kickstarter games. We actually did 2 episodes about Kickstarter games. We did an episode about Kickstarter games early on where we talked about how we were really happy. We basically said the same sort of things that critics have been saying, which is we were really glad that, Kickstarter was here as a way for us to crowdfund games so that we wouldn't get into that problem that we were having where publishers funding games was quote, ruining the artistic integrity of video games, end quote, something I will still say on occasion to this day.
Yeah, it still does happen. I mean, look at Ubisoft and shit like that.
Yeah, and then we did another episode about Kickstarter games where we're like, dude, look at how Kickstarter can be abused. It's a load of shit.
Yeah.
And the other one that kills me too is people who do Patreons for games, where you pay monthly into a Patreon for the development of a video game, and then those games go dark. There's a very no, I won't say famous, but well-known case of a porn game called Breeding Season.
Oh God,
that was in development, and I was actually following its development for quite some time because I'm a godless fur fag. And because the concept seemed neat, and I was interested in seeing how a Patreon-funded game would go, and people paid into that Patreon, thousands of dollars collectively every month, and then, like, all of a sudden one day it stopped, and it's like, well, where'd all that money go? I guess someone walked off with it.
They were pulling $25,000 a month.
Yeah, and I was just like, well, The first thing I would say is never ever buy into a Patreon for a game.
Okay,
don't do that. That seems like a bad idea.
Here's my general rule for Patreon: is there's when somebody creates a Patreon, they have several options on how they get funded. They can do like monthly, which regardless of what they do, they automatically at the beginning of every month they get their Patreon donations, or they can do each time they release like a song or a video or whatever,
or a new build of a game,
they get their donations. If it's a monthly thing, stay the fuck away from it. If it's every time they post new content, whether it be art, music, video, or a build, then it's okay. Because then the only time they get paid is if they actually produce something.
Now let me stand in defense for just a minute of the monthly Patreon, because I do actually see monthly Patreon systems being utilized well. And the one that immediately comes to mind for me is actually a YouTube channel run by YouTube user Gadget Girl Kylie. I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTuber.
No, I'm not. Let me look her up really quick.
Gadget Girl Kylie is a YouTuber that I follow regularly because she predominantly plays things like Dragon Quest Builders, Tales of Zestiria and Berseria. Not big, gigantic, huge, famous JRPGs, but smaller end JRPGs, and she actually has a whole slew of PlayStation Vita games that she plays. And she streams regularly over YouTube, and then cuts those streams up and makes videos for people who miss the streams, because she's actually located in the UK, so I actually miss most of her streams because she streams at a very bizarre time for me. Now she streams every day, and she produces anywhere from 5 to 7 videos a week. And each video can range, depending on whether it was a stream or if it was pre-recorded, anywhere from 25 minutes to an hour and a half long. She is a dedicated video producer and streamer. And on top of that, she produces content on games that I have a personal interest in. So I actually have no problem with her Patreon. Her Patreon is a monthly Patreon. And I have no problem with that because she produces content on a regular daily basis. So in her system, having a Patreon system that deducts per release would be like giving her money every day. Whereas you can give her monthly money to support her in continuing her endeavors of producing daily content. Because she streams, I believe her schedule is actually, she streams Monday through Friday, takes Saturday off, and streams twice on Sunday. I believe is actually what her schedule is. She's very dedicated streamer.
Yeah, she's really working her ass off.
Yeah, she's actually currently playing through a game that I'm actually going to be talking about later in the episode that you're going to laugh at. But like that's an instance I feel where the monthly Patreon is actually a better option for the user, because if they're a person who produces content on a daily basis with fairly good regularity, I see no reason not to, as long as there's someone who produces content that you would want to pay for anyways, right? That's the whole thing, is you don't buy into something you don't want, right? You wouldn't pay for Patreon for an artist who draws content that you have zero interest in. But as long as the person is creating content that you're interested in, if they're doing content on a daily or even just a weekly basis, I see no real problem with, tossing a few bucks, subscribing on a monthly basis. Because, that's what we do for, services like Netflix.
Yeah. Well, stuff like that's okay. Like, there's certain... I guess with the monthly thing, it's like if you really understand and trust the creator, like I look through my Patreons and there are a couple that are monthly. Like one guy, Jordan Underneath. I don't know if you watch him. He does mostly on the YouTube. He does mostly reviews and videos on horror games and talking about horror games and also talking about how like these weird games also helped him deal with like depression and anxiety and stuff. So I really love his content, and I'm on his Patreon, and he does a monthly thing as well. And he doesn't put out a whole lot of videos, but what he does on Patreon is he'll live stream, or he doesn't live stream, but he does Let's Plays just for his Patreon. So if you're on his Patreon, you get access to hundreds of videos of where he does Let's Plays of a ton of just weird RPG maker games and game maker games that are just super fascinating. And in that case, that's like worth it, because it's like, I'm supporting him making his regular videos, but as a bonus, I get all of these Let's Plays that are really just sort of fascinating, because not only does he does the Let's Plays, he also answers Patreon questions, and he gets into, like, he doesn't just answer, like if somebody asks him, something about depression or stuff like that, he'll go like on a 10 or 15 minute tangent just talking about it. It's just really fascinating. And like in a case like that, that's like totally worth it, because it's like as while publicly he doesn't put out a lot of content. If you're a patron, you're gonna get a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I guess the moral of the story really is, buy into something you feel is worth it and make sure you know what you're buying into. You know, and
Yeah.
and if it's a Patreon creator, you got to make sure that it's someone you trust is going to wisely use your money. Because like, with Kickstarter, you toss in a one-time thing of $15, and if the thing goes tits up, well, at least it was only $15. But with a Patreon, especially for a game, an indie game, you can toss in your $15, but it's every month.
Say, just as a quick aside, do you want to go over the people we're patrons for?
I actually don't have a Patreon account.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
never mind.
I have not signed up for Patreon yet, but I'm in the process of doing so. The reason for that is because I'm still setting up all my online banking and everything.
Oh yeah,
because I just
finally grew up.
I just grew up and weaned myself off of using other people's bank accounts. We'll put it that way.
Okay, so then for another aside, because you were talking about fuck, I just forgot her name. Shit, the YouTuber you were talking about.
Gadget Girl Kylie. She will actually be the first person I support on Patreon when I have it all set up. That is my plan.
Well, you're talking about like somebody who plays a lot of weird, obscure JRPGs and especially Vita games. Just as another aside, there's a YouTuber I watch, and I'm definitely gonna include him as a cool shit one of these episodes. There's a guy called Nihongo Gamer, and he's like a British. He's a Chinese British expatriate living in Japan. So I guess basically from Hong Kong, and he's living in Japan. And I love this guy. He doesn't do Let's Plays, but he puts out videos because he works a job. He has a job which gives him a lot of disposable income. So he's able just to buy the latest shit out there. And he does like tons of unboxing videos, and like he does unboxing videos for Nintendo droids and like and the collector's editions. The Japanese collector's editions for various games. He also picks up a lot of games, especially like on the Vita and PS4 and the 3DS and the Switch, which are more of the weirder games. Like the one game he recently picked up and he did a Let's Play of was the I think it was Senran Kagura. It's the water gun game, which is basically just a naughty, dirty version of Splatoon.
Yeah, that's not Senran Kagura. It's the one where you shoot their clothes off.
Yeah, with the water gun. The water gun dissolves it. Yeah, I thought it was Senran. It might be like a similar developer, publisher, or something. But yeah, he sort of does something similar. He does like similar shit where he just like looks at wackadoo shit that happens in Japan and stuff, and he's actually in Japan and he can go to it and experience it and all that shit. He's also the guy who convinced me to get an iPad Pro to draw on, because he's also a amateur artist as well. So yeah, that was our proto cool shit. We both like plugged 2 channels, and it's not part of our cool shit.
Let's get into our main topic here, because I'm actually really, really interested in hearing about your main topic, which is listed first here on the.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and just down this glass of Malbec. There we go. I just discovered Malbec a couple of weeks ago, and it's just like, this is really good wine. I like Malbec. It's not a brand. It's a type of red wine. Anyway, so yeah, this weekend I happened to be in Sioux Falls, or coming back into Sioux Falls, and being in Sioux Falls over the weekend where a con was going on. Now if you know about like my history, like, in the Brony fandom and stuff. I talked about going to cons here in Sioux Falls, and they've mostly been rather disappointing. Like, we used to have a con called Sojin Con, which was the sort of default, sort of nerdy con that was just mismanaged all the hell. They eventually just went bankrupt and just stopped. They were just unable to do cons anymore just because they ran out of fucking money and they didn't know how to handle their budget or anything. Because there's a... I don't want to say it's a unique issue, but there is a problem in Sioux Falls where, and I showed you this before because I remember we used to do calls together and we go hop around on Google Maps and show different parts of our town and stuff. It was just sort of a thing we did. And I showed you our convention center.
Yes, you did.
And how fucking gigantic our convention center is.
Yes, yeah, I believe I showed you where I dug my way out of school.
Yes, the hole in the the Google Maps Street View had the hole still there.
Yeah, that's a story I'll eventually tell on this podcast at some point.
Yeah, so but it was a couple of years ago. I showed you the Google Maps and the Google Street View of our convention center. Well, in that time, it's doubled in size. They've made it even larger.
So they've actually renovated the convention center then.
Yeah, they've renovated it, and it's basically doubled in size to where it could comfortably host a PAX South-sized event with like 80 to 100,000 people. And that's a problem that Sioux Falls has, is that if you want to do a convention in Sioux Falls, you have to either do it in a like a smaller hotel convention room, sort of like our Ramcoda or Best Western Inn, like hotels, or you have to lease out the Sioux Falls Convention Center, which I just said could easily handle a convention with 100,000 people. There's no like middle ground. You either get too small or too large.
I imagine it's pretty expensive too.
Yeah, it's super expensive. That's because with Sojin Con and also another con that came up after, because we first had Sojin Con, which was from like 2007, and I think the last one was in 2013. It started in 2005, but it was up at a college in Minnesota, and then it moved to Sioux Falls. And then after that, we had, for 2 years, we had a convention called Anime Alpha, which was just so poorly ran and poorly mismanaged. I remember going to their convention, and they had it in the Sioux Falls Convention Center, and they maybe used like an eighth of it, like an eighth of the convention space. Mm-hmm. And it was just terribly mismanaged, and it quickly died. And now we have a convention called Siouxpercon, which is spelled Siouxpercon, so Siouxpercon, and this one, I think, finally managed to figure out how to do a good convention in Sioux Falls. And what they did was they didn't go to the Sioux Falls Convention Center. They went to the Ramcoda Inn, which is just down the road. It's a much smaller it's a hotel with a smaller convention space, but they basically just leased the entire convention space in that hotel, and they just sort of just packed everybody in because the area is similar, though maybe a bit smaller than the Babs where there's a Brony convention out in San Francisco called BabsCon, Bay Area BronyCon, and it's a tiny bit smaller than their than their convention. The hotel area is a lot smaller, but the actual convention space is just a little bit smaller. And they basically what they did was they went to this hotel, which meant that the cost of running the convention was much, much cheaper. Way, way, way less cheaper. Or way more cheaper. And what they also did was they got a fuck ton of sponsorship. They went to every business in town and picked up sponsorship. They had our local TV stations there. They were actually their biggest sponsor was a local bank who was totally in for it. They even did like their own advertising. With like some Minecraft bullshit, but it was still pretty cool that like it's like this fucking like local credit union just was like totally on board with just sponsoring this convention, and they just promoted the fuck out of it, and they got like all the local gaming stores and also all the ones in like rural Minnesota and rural South Dakota and Iowa, and they even got people up from like Sioux City and Omaha up into their vendor hall. To just fill up the vendor hall with booths where people can just go and buy shits. It was kind of lacking in the whole like artist alley thing. There was like a couple artists there, but it was mostly just because that's the other thing with like running a con like in a very rural part of the country is that you have a lot of people go. You have a lot of people going there because they want to just be immersed in just like nerd and geekery, and gaming and cosplay and in anime. Because it's like even out here in the country, it's like it's like anime and stuff. It's pretty normal, but you're not like immersed in it as you would be like in a larger city. You can't just hop on down to your local anime or gaming shop, because for a lot of people, they just don't have that, where they live. So this is just an opportunity where they can just get fully immersed in it over a couple days. And also they can go in and just buy a fuck ton of shits. It's like, I know two store owners, one a gaming shop here in Sioux Falls, and another a comic book store that comes down from Brookings, South Dakota, and both of them like sold like over half of their stock at this convention, just because this was just an easy place for a lot of people to gather around and just buy a bunch of shits. And that's sort of how like these more rural cons go. It's not so much the creator aspect; it's more of the get together, geek out, and just spend a fuck ton of money kind of shit.
Yeah, I love the cons that are basically just like weeaboo farmers markets.
Pretty much.
Those are the best. Or like they're basically just like flea markets. Because I mean, like I've been to a lot of cons, and at this point, I don't really go to a con to see panels or to see guests. I've seen enough panels and I've seen enough guests, and unless there's like a guest I'm particularly invested in getting their signature, watching them speak or something, or listening to their band, they're not really the reason I go to a convention. I go to a convention for three things. I go to a convention to buy shit. I go to a convention to watch people be stupid. And I go to a convention to see impressive and or horrible cosplay. Because both of those things are equally entertaining.
Okay, so I took a bunch of B-roll here at this con. I also took quite a few pictures. My favorite cosplay of Siouxpercon, and this is totally throwing a ton of people under the bus who actually put a shit ton of effort into their cosplays. But my favorite cosplay was somebody cosplayed as Devo from Overwatch, which meant their cosplay was a giant cardboard box with a bunch of Doritos bag and Mountain Dew bottles strapped to it. And I like when I voted, and he entered in the cosplay competition, and I voted for him. he totally did not deserve it, but I fucking voted for him because, like, it was fucking unique. It was fucking unique. I was totally into it, and I feel really bad now because there was some really good cosplayers that I did not vote for that I probably should have fucking voted for. Oh god. Anyway, go ahead and keep. You were still going.
Oh, I was just like, that's the sort of thing that I like about cons now. Like, I was talking to you earlier about the local anime convention here in the Bay Area in San Jose, California, Fanime convention, and like they've been getting smaller and smaller in terms of guests and panels every year, but the artists' room has been getting bigger and bigger. And at this point, you know, I go to Fanime every year, every other year, and I don't go to see the band. I don't go to the rave. I don't go to get drunk or do drugs in the hotel. Not anymore, anyways.
Here's oh god, you're gonna fucking love this, dude. You are gonna fucking love this. This shows you how much of a rural small convention this was. The convention itself had an open bar. You could walk around with a shot or with a beer in like the exhibition hall or in any of the panels. You could walk around with like an open alcohol container because they had an open bar right next to registration.
That's all that matters. That's all you need.
Yeah. I'm not kidding. It's probably, I didn't take any pictures of it, but it's probably in my B-roll where, yeah, they're right next to the registration tables. There is a wonderful young lady there, bartender, with a whole roll of fucking booze right behind her.
And like I was saying, you know, I go to these things mostly to see the people and also to see the artists, because artists who go to conventions, artists who convention hop are wonderful people generally.
Oh yeah,
and you know, I do purchase. Of course, I purchase a lot of things at cons because I want to support artists, and also because oftentimes I'll see something that I just gotta have. And it's usually a poster, and it's usually for like some shit trash tier anime that nobody likes except for me because it's terrible and I don't care. You know, but really that's what I go for. Is I go for the artist alley. Because the people who make art, who go to cons, they always have really interesting stories. They always have really interesting stuff that they're selling. And God knows I don't need another, you know, K-On! Keychain. You know, I don't need another fucking Toaru Railgun fanny pack or whatever the fuck they're selling. But God knows I'm gonna get one.
Well, then you'd be disappointed in this con. Like I said, this con is, like you said, it's basically a geek flea market. That's how their exhibition
good too, though. You know, that's good too, because I mean, sometimes you.
Well, it works. That formula would not work where you live. You live in a large metropolitan area where there is probably within a 20-minute drive of where you're at right now. You could go and just buy, you can just go in and play Warhammer 40K,
or just find an actual flea market.
yeah. So it's like I said before, and that's something that I guess a lot of people don't understand, like how and in general a city like Sioux Falls works, because you look at Sioux Falls and it's a large city. I mean, compared to the area it's around, it's a very large city, and the reason it is that way is because a lot of people who live out in the country, you know, they farm or they work in some other more rural industry like ranching or again farming or something like that. And then on the weekends they come to Sioux Falls and they just buy a fuck ton of shit and then they go back home. So that's how Sioux Falls is able to have all these different things, and that's just and that's why it's like, how do I? like in order to have a good time in Sioux Falls, you really need to have money. You know, it's like, you know, if you're like in a large city like New York or San Francisco or even like Austin, Texas or something. I know I probably shouldn't have compared Austin, Texas to New York. I mean, they're fucking New York's gigantic. But it's like you can make do with not paying a whole lot of money for entertainment. Whereas here in Sioux Falls, it's like in Sioux Falls, it's like you have a fuck ton of parks and shit. You can go out to the park and hang out and stuff, but you know, if you really want to go and engage with other people, you're gonna have to spend some fucking money, and that's just the way it works. Is because that's how these cities function. Is that they rely on people out in the country coming in and spending a fuck ton of money, and that's just sort of how these cities work. I know I'm going way off topic there or off tangent, but I guess I'm just trying to get in your mind how this convention is successful. I guess is that yeah, it's not so much promoting like an artist alley and stuff. It's more, let's get a fucking a bunch of people selling shit here and getting a lot of people making a fuck ton of money, you know, going in and spending a fuck ton of money, and hopefully they go into some panels and just, you know, learn, you know, like be entertained and learn a bunch of shit and all that good stuff, you know. And I know you want to find out a lot about the more gaming aspects. I'll just move on to that. Well, actually, first let me talk about the panelists and the guests they had. There's actually two on here that I know you'll fucking love. Well, they have a bunch of guests, but I'll point out a couple that I know and bullshit will love. Bill Willingham was there. Do you know who that is?
Not familiar with the name.
He's the creator of Fables.
Ah, okay.
Yes, he created Fables, which is what the I think the Telltale game. I forgot the name of the Telltale game that is based on Fables.
The Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us. Yes, that's based on Fables. He was there. He was mostly he did talk a bit about Fables, about work on Fables, but he also announced a new comic book series, a new fantasy series called Lark's Killer, which is unlike Fables, is more geared towards a more general audience, and it looked kind of interesting. I'm not too keen on the art style compared to Fables, but as for making something that's all ages, you know, hopefully it works out for him. It was just mostly just awesome that, you know, that the creator of Fables was fucking there. And this is probably more relevant to you and I. Kaji Tang was there.
I'm also not familiar with that name.
He's the voice of Guts in Berserk.
Okay.
Also Vegeta in Dragon Ball Super. Yeah. He was also Mundihiza Aiwa in Persona 5.
Oh, EY. Yeah.
EY. Yes, EY. Sorry. He was also Faust in Guilty Gear Zerd. Sign. Voice actor for a ton of shit. Really awesome dude. Fucking swole as fuck. Holy shit. That dude is fucking muscle.
It's so funny because I've been live streaming Persona 5 for my friends, so the friends of mine who don't have a PS4 can see it, and we've been joking about EY because his in-game model. I don't know if you've seen his in-game model for that character in Persona 5, but he looks like young anime Jason Statham.
I'm looking him up right now.
Yeah.
Oh
Munin
yeah,
Ziwei.
yeah. Holy shit, that's like fitting. That's fucking fitting.
He looks like Jason Statham, and like all of us keep forgetting his name. Because he has a name we're not familiar with, like using regularly. EY is not a terribly common name we hear all the time.
Yeah.
So we just keep calling him Jason Statham. He's the owner of the weapon shop.
Nice. He also voiced Tsumugo Kinagase from Kill la Kill. He was the guy who was all about purging the fucking the life fibers and shit in Kill la Kill. Yeah, this is a guy who's had like a fuck ton of roles of like not like leading roles. Well, except for Guts. Like Guts is obviously a very important role. That's probably his most famous role is voice acting for Guts. But he's mostly done like notable characters, but not leading characters in a lot of things you've probably watched and consumed. You know, so like Fate Stay Night, Dragon Ball Super, Resident Evil 6, Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the voice actor. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, but he was there. And like with so many other voice actors, super nice guy, really easy to talk to. You know, doesn't compare to Arnold Schwarzenegger in friendliness. I don't know. Did I ever tell you about how I had an opportunity to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes,
like
you did.
Long time ago?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And I told you how he has a handler with him not to keep people away from him, but to tell him, hey, you need to stop talking so you can talk to these other people. Because if you like get into a conversation with Arnold Schwarzenegger, he will not shut up. He loves to talk to people.
That's surprising though.
Yeah, he loves people. He loves talking to people, and that's why like Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of my favorite fucking actors, is because he's just so relatable and shit. But yeah, those are two notable guests I wanted to tell you about. There was a bunch of other guests, more local people. Like there's a really awesome magician called Travs, and then like a bunch of local comic book artists and stuff, which I would mention, but they're more local, and I don't know if that's really relevant right now, and that sounds shitty, but whatever. As far as gaming, they actually had a local bar. We have a local barcade called what the fuck is their name? I can't remember. We have a barcade here in town, and I'm really feel bad for forgetting their fucking name, because they're like the only barcade. That's the problem when you have like one of something in a town, is that you just call it that thing, like that barcade. You don't remember the actual fucking name of it. You're just like, oh, we'll just go to the barcade. What's the name of it? I don't fucking know. It's the barcade. But they brought a bunch of their machines down. It was really awesome because they don't cheap out. They don't like just get a bunch of they don't just like build a bunch of main cabinets and just do that. They actually got like original cabinets and restored them, and they brought them all down. They had like Super Street Fighter, or they had a Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, and like Raiden 2, and they had the Simpsons arcade game, a 4-person unit, which is the best arcade game ever. They also had like Metal Slug 3 and a bunch of shit. And they also had like a gaming room that had a bunch of just consoles and stuff that you could get hooked up and that you can sign out. Like they basically just had like a huge line of like CRT televisions, and you just tell them, hey, I want to play the Neo Geo, and you sign out the Neo Geo, and you get the giant fucking cartridge that's just the size of a fucking book. Because, believe it or not, Neo Geo cartridges are fucking gigantic. or like Super Nintendo and stuff, and then they had a room dedicated just to Melee. They had an entire room just full of LCD monitors and just full of Wii U's. Or it was actually Wii U's because they were playing a modded version of Melee, and they were running them all on Wii U's. It wasn't an official tournament or anything, but I thought that was pretty hilarious that that they were playing modded Wii U modded Melee basically. I forgot which version. I actually it might have been Smash 4. Wasn't there a mod made for Smash 4 that made it more like Melee?
That would not surprise me if there were mods for every Smash game that made every Smash game more like Melee.
I think it might have been that. I think it might have been whatever that mod was for that made Smash 4 or not 4. Whatever Smash. Oh fuck! I'm fucking this all up. All I know, it was a modded Smash game, and they had Wii U's. They had like 15 Wii U's, and they were all playing a modded version of Smash Brothers. That's how unfamiliar with Smash I am. so I am sorry. Well, so they had fuck ton of Magic tables. You could get in, play Magic. You can play D&D. They had Warhammer, both Warhammer and Warhammer 40K. There wasn't any vendors selling, but if you want to play, any of those games, you could. And they actually had them in the basement of the hotel, which was perfect because. The reason we're recording very late right now, at least for me, because it's been super fucking hot, and if you went down into the basement, it was ice fucking cold. And if you know the kind of people who play Warhammer 40K and like Warhammer, just like really hardcore tabletop figurine games, you want the room to be cold as hell because you don't want it to be hot. You don't need that room to be fucking hot because you're gonna get a lot of. It's gonna fucking stink in there. not to throw those people on their bus, but to totally throw those people on their bus. Take a fucking shower, Jesus Christ. Yep. Stop spending all your money on Warhammer 40 figurines. Buy some fucking soap, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's just this was. It was finally. It was great to finally have a well-ran convention here in Sioux Falls that wasn't that knew its limits, but also knew how to promote itself and also make itself appealing to just the more general audience. Because that's the thing I kind of noticed yesterday when I was, because I like I told you before, I know the owners of two of the. Of a store here in Sioux Falls, Dragon's Den, and then the Comic Book Collective up in Brookings. So I kind of just bounced between both of their booths, sort of hanging out, and that's the thing you kind of notice. Like early on, it was just like a fuck ton of nerds and just people you knew were just nerds, and they were there because it's finally because they live out. Because they live out in Hartford or Beersford, and they live in a really small town, so they can't really immerse themselves in a bunch of nerdy shit. So it's like now it's finally their time. They made the trip up to Sioux Falls, and they're staying at the hotel, and it's like now they can finally nerd out and just be themselves. And they came in waves, like earlier in the day, but later on in the day, you got like a bunch of just sort of. And I hate to use the term, you got like a bunch of fucking normies going through there, and they went through there just like geeking out because it's just like, holy shit! I used to watch Dragon Ball on Cartoon Network all the time. You got the fucking holy shit! It's fucking Goku, awesome! And yeah, it's like I saw like a dude in a fucking wife beater with his fucking with like a dual, pushing a dual mounted fucking, I don't know what you call it, a dual mounted baby carrier with both of his kids in there, and he saw like this fucking $130 Goku figurine, and he just lost his fucking mind. It's like this is a dude, you just look at me, you're like, yeah, you work construction 80 hours a week. And he just lost his goddamn mind when he saw all this Dragon Ball Z shits. And like he bought like a bunch of manga and stuff, and it was just like, that's fucking awesome. I like that. That's really fucking cool. It's like I say normie and shit, and it's kind of derogatory, but it's just like it's really nice. It's really nice that like these are mediums where like everybody can sort of get into, and it was really cool. And it wasn't like all of those nerds that came through earlier cleared out. They were still there. They just weren't rushing the fucking vendors halls. They were just sort of there hanging out. So, you had this fucking construction worker, with both of his fucking kids, navigating through people like dressed up as fucking diva fucking cardboard box
with Doritos.
Yeah, navigating through that and a bunch of fucking fursuit. Yeah, there was a bunch of furries there as well. A bunch of people in fursuits and a bunch of LARPers, walking around in their fucking chainmail armor, and it's just fucking cool. It's just like, yeah, there's a dude in chainmail armor, and there's a guy who's dressed up as a purple dragon who's probably gay. He's totally gay. But yeah, it's just like it was just really. I had the amount of fun I had at this con, just being in that con, is on the same level as going to PAX South, I'd say. Just with the amount of stuff to do and all the people to talk to and just the general vibe, it was just a really happy vibe. It's really nice to just finally have a good con, here in Sioux Falls. And I think I'm pretty much talked out. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm sad I missed the con, though. I would have totally come down for that. That'd been awesome.
I did talk to, because I found out that there's sort of a South Dakota podcast network. And apparently they have like a couple movie podcasts, and they have like a Pokemon podcast and a bunch of other sort of nerdy podcasts, and they're all done by people here in South Dakota. I'm like, I talked to them, and I mentioned that I did a podcast myself with a friend from California, and they were really pretty cool about it. I'm like, I wonder if we should like sign ourselves up and become part of their network or something. I don't know. We might.
Wouldn't hurt to poke around and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know how keen they'd be on a podcast that's only like partially done in South Dakota. Yeah, but the other half doesn't.
South Dakota and whatever.
Yeah, they're like, well, you guys talk a lot about furry porn and working in retail, and we're fine with that, but this guy living in the Bay Area, that might be pushing it too far. I don't know, man. The gratuitous discussion about Pokemon porn is okay, but this guy living in,
he ain't even in the right region of the country.
Yeah, we may not. We probably can't sign off on this, legal and all that.
It's union bylaws. We'll lose our subsidies.
Yeah, we got this trusts with the South Dakota government, man. That means we got to stick local, man. If you can round up a couple people who are into fucking Braxian on the side and Rule 34, that'd be fine. But as long as they're here in the state, that's cool.
All right. With that, I think we'll move on to our next subject here. Oh, you've got a second part here to yours.
Well, mine sort of integrates.
I just noticed that you added that.
Yeah, well, mine sort of just integrates into your thing. So I figured I'd let you talk about your things, and then I could talk about my thing.
All right, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So my main topic this week got copped out. Just want to talk about some upcoming and/or new-ish games that have just come out that I'm really excited for and/or already own. The first one on my list is a game that is a game from a company that I have a complicated relationship with, and that's MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. I don't like Piranha games.
I think most people would say they fucking hate Piranha games.
I really loved what Piranha Games did with MechWarrior Online for the first 2 years that game was out. I played the shit out of it. And I grew to absolutely detest everything that MechWarrior Online became after that point, which culminated in my leaving the game permanently at the time of the release of the clan mechs. I don't like how they balanced that game, and I don't like how they crafted their payment model.
Yeah, it was very exploitative.
Yeah. That said, the engine that they had was phenomenal. And what the game was before the introduction of the clan mechs was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had in the MechWarrior series. Right up there with MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries and MechWarrior 4 Vengeance, which I hold to be my favorite among the series, though others may disagree with my choosing that. You're all entitled to your opinions, I'm entitled to mine. I really enjoyed MechWarrior 4 Vengeance. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries appears to be shaping up to be what they were doing originally with MechWarrior Online before they got money hungry. And by all accounts, all the videos that have been posted for MechWarrior 5, there haven't been many, but it really honestly looks like Piranha Games is using MechWarrior Online as a sort of alpha for a proof of concept test for their new single-player MechWarrior game. And I'm actually really excited for this because the thing I didn't like about MechWarrior Online was that it was online. There was no single-player mode. There was no mode where you could play against a computer. It was 100% PvP all the time. And while that's fun, there's an element of fun for me with the single-player MechWarrior experience. I really enjoyed the story modes of mainline MechWarrior titles. So I am actually very excited for MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries because if there's one thing Piranha Games did absolutely right, it was the engine and the control scheme and the theming for MechWarrior Online. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. It was officially announced back in 2016 at a con. But it's there should be they've stated that there should be some more news and word about the game within the coming months here in early to middle 2017. So I'm definitely gonna be looking forward to that. When it comes out, I most likely will be playing it.
Okay, really quick. I have a thing to add to this, and I also have a quick derailment here. The thing, because as far as like a mech game is concerned, like my all-time favorite one, if it's not Armored Core, back on the original PlayStation, it would be Hawken, just because of how absurd it was.
Oh, I loved Hawken.
Hawken was great, especially your starter mech, which just basically looked like its main body just looked like a microwave. Just looked like a giant microwave. But the thing I love about MechWarrior, and I saw it in this video you linked to it, and it's a tiny aspect of MechWarrior that I just absolutely fucking love, is just the momentum. Like when in the video, when the mech starts walking, it has to build up speed.
Yeah, and it's got weight. It's got weight.
Yeah, and it's like when it comes to a stop, it has to slow down.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I said about Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous came out because I started playing Elite Dangerous because I wanted a futuristic, war simulation game to fill the void that MechWarrior Online left when I stopped playing it. And Elite Dangerous ended up being the game that I went with because I really enjoyed the way that the ships in that game controlled, because it was so well thought out. But that's one thing I've always said about the MechWarrior series, is that the MechWarrior series is first and foremost a simulation game. Now they're simulating fake fictional machines, but there's a lot of thought put into, if these machines were possible, if it was possible for us to make these things, how would they work, and how would they move, and how would they be constructed? And there's a lot of art put into artistic endeavor put into what they would look like, but how they feel, it is really like a simulation. And that's one thing I love about the Western idea of a mech over
the Japanese,
the Gundam style, which I love Gundam, and I love that kind of style of mech. But when it comes to playing a video game, I really prefer the simulation-oriented aspect of the MechWarrior series.
Yeah, there's actually, because they're starting to actually have like real like mech competitions, and the leading countries are the U.S. and Japan, and it's even in real life, it's sort of following that. It's like two different philosophies when you look at mechs. Like, you have the Japanese philosophy of just like super lightweight, super high speed, very nimble mechs, whereas the American style mech, which is in MechWarrior, is just the large, heavily armed, just fucking tank. And it's two different philosophies that both have their disadvantages and advantages, and it's depending on which one you like, it's just really fascinating to see how fiction is starting to become reality within this very specific realm. Because I know the term fiction is reality is a very loaded word, especially on fucking Tumblr, especially in the Voltron fandom. Fuck those people, god damn it. Fuck the Voltron fit. Okay, going quick back to Siouxpercon. There was 3 notable things I saw at Siouxpercon, or that I did not see. There was no Voltron cosplay, nor barely any mention of Voltron, nor was there barely any mention of either Undertale or Steven Universe. There was plenty of merch being sold for all 3 of those. There was tons of merch, like fan art, and like there was a booth that was selling quilts, and they made quilts of Pearl and Garnet and Amethyst and Steven, and really beautiful quilts and stuff. But there was like no cosplay and no real discussion of it. And I mentioned that to my friend Josh, who, if people remember Josh, I did podcasts with, and we might still do podcasts in the future. Don't hold your breath. But he mentioned it's like, yeah, the reason nobody's fucking talking about those things is because the fandoms are fucking garbage. It's like, that's where you see how toxic a fandom can be, is if nobody wants to talk about it in real life because of how bad it is online. So I don't know what point I was making there. It was just an observation that I noted, and Josh had a hypothesis about it, of why nobody really like cosplayed or really got into it at this con. So anyway, sorry, that was a derail right there. So Yeah. Actually, that wasn't even my main derail because okay, here was my main derail. All right, I've been okay. Let me tell you something, man. Black Box Malbec wine is fucking awesome, and they give you a lot of it. Anyway, okay, so my main derail. I got this super adorable plushie. Because there was a vendor there who had a bunch of Pokemon plushies from one of the Pokemon centers in Japan, in Tokyo, for the X, Y, and Z Pokemon movie. And they had a ton of plushies. They're the small, very detailed, plushies. Like if you look at the Pokemon plushies that they have at like the Pokemon Center in New York, they're kind of shitty looking, but these ones are pretty fucking awesome. Actually, let me show you the one that I purchased and I'm looking at right now. Here, I'll link it to you in bullshit. Airtime. It's that plushie. Because I got Yes, I got Braxton because Braxton's one of my favorite Pokemon. Fennekin, Braxton, and Delphox. That's my favorite starter Pokemon. And something that everybody's noticed, especially with Braxton, not so much with Delphox, because Delphox, their character design, it looks like they're more wearing a gown or a robe or a dress and just the character design. But with Braxton looks like they're wearing a skirt. And what people notice, especially in Pokken tournaments, is that Braxton is thick. Braxton got thighs. Braxton got huge thighs. And I've got this plushie here, and this plushie is thick. This plushie got thighs.
It's anatomically accurate.
Yeah. Man, dude, when because like you didn't really notice it in X and Y with Braxton and X and Y because it didn't really show all angles for Braxton. But when Pokken Tournament came out and well, I'm gonna say she because my Braxton was a she. Yeah, she got them thighs, yo. A lot of people were like, Braxton is fucking thick. and it's like, yeah. Holy shit, yeah. Wow. The Pokemon Company makes some Pokemon that are kind of sexy looking.
It's because she got this like fur pattern that makes it look like she has like a dress on.
Yeah, and then her thighs are underneath it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, they're massive.
They're massive thighs. Yeah, and when you are playing Pokken Tournament, especially with some of the moves she makes, it makes her thighs very noticeable. So it's like you have to comment on it, you know. So okay, so let's get this back on rails. Let's talk about your next game, which looks like if you aren't gay, you're totally gay now because goddamn, those boys look totally fuckable in that game. We're talking about Period Cube, dude.
Right. Okay. So.
Sorry, I kind of went a billion miles an hour for a few seconds.
My eyes glazed over there as you started talking really fast. Okay,
sorry.
My second game.
Well, because I watched the video. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of boys in here.
Okay, yeah. So this is an Otome game. That's why.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this is the game I was referring to when I said there's a game I'd be talking about later that was actually being played on Gadget Girl Kylie's YouTube channel. She's actually been playing this one, which is really cool. It's on Vita. It's called Period Cube Shackles of Amadeus, and it's the latest to be released in America from Idea Factory and Otomate's studio. Of course, Otomate being a studio that makes almost exclusively Otome visual novels. The last one that they made, I think No, I didn't talk about it on the podcast.
No,
we weren't podcasting at that time. Last one they made that I played was one called Code Realize. Guardian of Rebirth, which was very good because it was a game that was basically alternate universe history, Victorian England, and a bunch of fictional characters all come together. You've got Arsène Lupin, the famous thief, Victor Frankenstein, among others. And it had a really interesting story, and Victor Frankenstein is the true husbando, and anyone who says otherwise is not only incorrect, but also trash. Anyways, Period Cube is the latest game that they've done, and it is, so far, and I'm actually playing it right now, so far, really good. It's basically Sword Art Online, but if Sword Art Online was actually interesting. Shots fired. Basically, it's one of those, everyone's playing this MMO, they get sucked into the MMO, and if you die in the game, you die in real life. And there's a lot of boys, and you date them.
Oh god, there's a lot of sexy boys. There's a lot of sexy boys in this. It almost makes me think that there's going to be a conservative senator with a PS Vita with this game in it.
There probably is. Dude, I'm actually going to add another one in here, which is the upcoming game. It's not released yet, or if it is released, it's only in Japan, by Automate and Idea Factory, called Collar X Malice, which is also an Automate game where you play as a female detective. And it's I guess a murder mystery? I'm not entirely sure, but it looks really interesting. Anyways, I'm playing through Period Cube right now. I'll probably talk about it on the podcast at some point because I don't play Automate games that often, and usually when I do, they're from this company, and usually they're really good. So, probably going to be talking about that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The last game that I have on my list here, after Collar X Malice, which I just added in, is the new, released in Japan, yet to be released in America, game from Tecmo Koei, Musou Stars, the latest in the Dynasty Samurai, the latest in the Warriors series.
Okay, yeah, I watched this video, I'm like, this is a fucking Dynasty Warriors game.
Yes, this is a Dynasty Warriors game. This is, every so often they do a mashup game. This is their latest big mashup game. And let me just bring up the wiki here. It's a Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors game, with characters from, let me see here. Where's the character list? Characters from Dead or Alive, Deception, Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, the Atelier series, which I've talked about previously on the podcast. I talked about Atelier Sophie and Atelier Fierce. It's got characters from Atelier Sophie, Ninja Gaiden, Neo, Samurai Cats, Haruka Beyond the Stream of Time, Knights of Azure, and Tokiden. And it's just
that's a lot of stuff.
All these characters all put together. They actually got almost all of the original voice actors and voice actresses for each of these characters from their original games to come back for this big mashup game. This is basically Super Smash Brothers or PlayStation All-Stars, but a Warriors game with various JRPG characters from JRPGs and Japanese action games, small and big alike, including Neo. I'm actually very surprised. They got a character from Neo, and they even got the American voice actor to play him in the Japanese version.
Whoa, that's actually cool.
Which is really weird. I don't know why they decided to do that, but it's kind of cool. It's wow. Ben Peel.
Nice.
He is, I believe he was, he's an Irish actor, plays the main character of Neo, and they got him to come and play in the original game. So I'm actually really excited for this game. You know, the Warriors series is one of my guilty pleasure series. I love that series to death. Most of the people who follow me on Twitter and Tumblr know this already. So I'm actually quite excited for the Musou Stars series because the last mashup game we had was Warriors Orochi 3, and that was awesome. But this one is new, completely disconnected from Warriors Orochi. It's just a new mashup game, and I'm actually really excited to see it. Apparently, you can like pair characters together, because I've seen videos of people playing the Japanese version where they get to this scene where they got the main character from Atelier Sophie to like take a bath together with Lu Bu from Dynasty Warriors, and he's like twice her height. I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck?
I will say I'm totally happy with the only Dynasty Warriors game I've ever played so far is Hyrule Warriors.
Dude, Hyrule Warriors is so good, though.
It's good. It's so good.
The biggest disappointment I have with Hyrule Warriors is that it is on a console that I don't own, and it will never be on another one.
I gave you a 2DS.
Yeah, and I gave it back. Remember?
Oh right, yeah.
No, it's the Wii U version is the one I want to play, and I unfortunately don't own a Wii U, and that game's never going to be released on any other console because it's Zelda, and of course it won't. But man, I have played that game on my friend's Wii U, and it is good. That is a really good game.
Yeah, it's I have it on the 3DS, and it's a fuck ton of fun. And it's like, wow, I actually know some of these characters. Because, yeah.
And then you said you had a game that you were looking forward to.
Well, before that, I was like, hey, I have another derail, but then you just like powered through that because you're like, no, you're not going to derail me again.
You're not going to take control of this podcast again, you drunk motherfucker.
You drunk motherfucker. Hell yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Overpower me, senpai. Oh, that's for the fanfic writers in like 2 years when we finally become popular. I think I finally found some motivation to go and catch up on the My Little Pony episodes. I think I finally found a character that will motivate me to go watch it.
Watch season 6, you mean?
To watch MLP, yes, and that is there's finally a gothic Lolita pony. I just sent you a link of a gif of her. All I know is her name is Inky Rose.
This was from the episode where I'm gonna link this picture in. I'm gonna derail the show notes and link this picture in here so people can see it.
Yeah, throw like in the meta shit. Yeah, it's a fucking gothic Lolita pony.
I think this was from the episode where Rarity opens another dress shop in another city or something like that. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen season 6 of My Little Pony. It's been a while since that shit came out.
She's expanding. She's expanding in a non-sexual way. That's awesome. No, everybody knows that the real expansion goes with Fluttershy. Oh god, that was God. Everybody just wanted to fucking do all this horrible shit to Fluttershy. I feel bad for her. As a derail to the derail, I while we've been talking, I've been perusing E621 because that's something you do. That's what normal people do. They go on the image boards full of furry porn. So yeah, I've been perusing E621, and so I've been trying to play Bloodborne off and on. Sort of just more like I'd start a Bloodborne, and then I would torture myself for 20 minutes, and I'd be like, I need help, and then I'd shut the PS4 down. But so yeah, I've been playing Bloodborne when I'm very wanting to inflict self-harm. But one of the characters that that's gotten my attention is Vicar Amelia. You know, the one of the vicars.
Yeah, she's the one with the long white hair, right?
Yes, and when you go into a battle with her, she transforms into a gigantic deer-wolf hybrid. She transforms into basically a giant furry bait.
Yeah, I've played Bloodborne.
Yes. So you know all about
Yeah.
Vicar Amelia. And here's the thing on those. There's a lot of porn drawn of her because obviously she's a giant. She's a giant wolf deer hybrid. That's basically perfect furry bait. So there's plenty of porn of her. But I'm looking at the comments on E621 under her tag for each piece of artwork, and the thing I've noticed is that because I've dealt with her. I've dealt with her in the game. And so have you. And the thing I've noticed is that the people who are like really into her, who are like really into Vicar Amelia, have never played Bloodborne. Now, if you've never played if you play Bloodborne, you know exactly what I'm about to get into. If you've never played Bloodborne, here's why I'm noting that. When you get into a battle with Vicar Amelia, and this is especially so if you're wearing headphones, she screams constantly, just this dry, cacophonous screaming. I was gonna say blood curdling. It's a dry, cavernous screaming. It's like people say blood curdling scream as like the worst type of screaming possible. No, this is like screaming through a fucking cave.
Yeah.
And it's her. It's all the noise. It's all she ever does throughout your entire battle is this cacophonous screaming that just bores into your fucking skull, especially if you're playing on fucking headphones. and you just want to fucking open your wrists when you're done. When you fucking die to her, because it's just this constant screaming, and it's like that's how you can tell in these comments when because if somebody's like really into like Vicar Amelia, it's like, no, you have not played Bloodborne. It's like, yeah, she may be this gigantic, sexy, half deer, half wolf creature, and that's all really hot, and you draw like gigantic lactating tits on her and stuff, and that's all cool. But you have not dealt with her. Because that screaming just cuts right into your fucking soul.
Yeah, there's one thing they did absolutely... If there is one thing they did absolutely correctly in Bloodborne, there are many things they did actually do absolutely correctly, but if I could pick one thing to be the most impressed by, it's their sound design.
Yeah,
like
totally.
The first time you see the fucking crows, and they bark. What the fuck?
God.
What the fuck?
Dude, you want to talk about an improvement? Go back and look at the crows in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
The crows in Dark Souls 1 are just as gigantic, but they act like regular sized crows. So you watch a regular sized crow and how they, their head like bobs about and darts about and stuff, and it's like they just basically took that tiny crow and just made it larger. So you have this giant crow moving just as fast as a regular sized crow. It's so bad in Dark Souls 1. But yeah, they made it more realistic in Bloodborne, but they made their movement more realistic, but yeah, they fucking bark. there's that, and then there's the fucking pig. Fuck that pig. I hate that fucking pig. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, the one in the tunnel.
Yeah, the one in the tunnel. Fuck that fucking pig. God damn it. I fucking hate Bloodborne. I gotta play it afterwards. I hate this game so much I gotta play it. So, to a much less punishing and more fun game. Yeah, Bloodborne is a fucking garbage game. Don't ever play it. And when I say don't play it, be sure to sink at least 100 hours into it. It's torture. It's sweet torture. So one of the biggest surprises for me in gaming in 2017 was when Sega just fucking put Bayonetta up on Steam. And the only forewarning they gave for it was a really shitty, like 8-bit retro-inspired game they dropped on April Fool's Day called 8-bit Bayonetta. That was a fucking horrible game. But I guess if you played it the right way, it hinted at the possibility that Bayonetta was coming to Steam. And lo and behold, like 2 weeks later, Bayonetta's on fucking Steam. Well, earlier this month, or late April, there was an update pushed out for Bayonetta. The update size was 22 kilobytes, and all it did was it added a folder in the installation directory for Bayonetta. And if you looked in the folder, there was just one image, and it was a picture of the dude from Vanquish. And well, earlier, a few days ago, we're recording on the 14th. A few days ago, Sega announced that Vanquish is coming to the PC on Steam. Good job. That was a really good announcement via an update in another game.
This is how they do it over at Platinum. That's just how they do it.
That's just how they fucking do it. And Sega can go fuck themselves, because I can barely get through Bloodborne, and you're just piling all these fucking games on me. I am torturing myself just to play all these fucking games. Not to mention, I got obsessed with a free-to-play game on my fucking Android tablets. Okay, so yeah, that's my second main topic. Vanquish is coming to the PC on Steam. It's gonna have achievements. It's gonna run fucking awesome, because Bayonetta on PC is incredibly well optimized. It runs so fucking good on PC. It looks fucking amazing. They did a really good job porting it. I'm pretty sure Vanquish is gonna be just as well ported and all that good shit. But anyway. I sunken myself into a free-to-play game on Android, on my Android tablet. It's also on Steam, but I'm playing it on my Android tablet. It's this game called World of Guns.
Oh, God. I am familiar with this game.
Yeah. They've added to it. There's also a shooting range in it, too, so there is some actual shooting in it. But all it is you get guns, you take them apart, and you put them back together. And that's the game. It's strangely satisfying to take apart a gun with 70 pieces and put it back together without any guides or hints. They certainly tapped into a feeling there that gets them a lot of money. Though I haven't spent any money in the game. I've just been earning experience points and buying guns that way. So, yeah. Fuck Sega for putting out so many awesome games. And fuck them for their live streaming policy. Because that's what that whole Persona 5 bullshit, that's all Sega's fucking doing right there. You know that. We talked about it in the last fucking episode. That's all their bullshit. They ain't Atlas, that's fucking Sega.
Let's blame it on a completely different company.
Dude, Sega owns Atlas. You know that.
Yeah.
You know that. The only company that's fucking worse than Sega is fucking Nintendo, and we could probably do 5 fucking episodes on how fucking shitty Nintendo is. Though we're not going to do that because we have better things to do. Like, I'm a truck driver and you work for a rental company. Those are better things to do than complain about Nintendo. We should probably move on with the episode, don't you think?
All right, and with that, we move on to our cool shit segment. This week, I guess I'll go first. I forgot to switch our names again. That's okay.
That's your fault.
Yep. The cool shit segment is where we link things we find during the week that we think are cool, that we need attention, things that weren't necessarily a main topic segment, but we feel needs some spotlight. I always start us off usually, so I'm gonna start us off here. Of course, you can find the links for everything in here in our show notes, which are posted in the description boxes in our YouTube videos, as well as our posts on our social media. The first piece of cool shit I have here is a video for the Most Useless Machine Emoto Edition. And if you're not familiar with the Most Useless Machine, it's that that box that has a switch on it that you push the switch and the box opens up and pushes the switch and closes itself. This is someone built one that is
this
a
one
sister.
has so much. This one has so much fucking emotion to it,
and it screams in little girl Japanese voice, and has facial expressions, and it moves around. And it's absolutely hilarious. You can just click around in the video to see. This is a hilarious video from Moe HQ.
This is sexual. I don't want to watch this anymore. That's sexual. He's sexually harassing that box.
My favorite is at the end where it gets angry and opens its mouth and starts shooting fire everywhere.
Oh, okay, let me go back and watch that really quick.
It's towards the end.
Oh God. Oh God. Yeah, it has set shit on fire. I just love how the actual fire setting is just this little fucking Bic lighter, so he has to add all the CG fire to it. God, Japanese androids in little French maid outfits. Thank you, Yoko Taro.
Thank you, Yoko Taro.
Yes, post-apocalyptic philosophical androids in French maid outfits. Thank you. So, well, perfect segue into my cool thing. It's this YouTuber called Liana K, and she's a gamer who does live streams and all that good shit, and she also discusses feminism in gaming and how you can both be a feminist and totally love your sexy time Nier Automata French made games and all that stuff. It's like, hey, you could totally be into their live beach volleyball and not be a horrible person. Because guess what? The games you play don't determine the kind of person you are.
I don't know. Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball is also a terrible game.
Well, it is a terrible game, but it's not because of feminism.
But it's not because of the boob physics or the fact that it's objectifying women. That's not the reason why that game is terrible. That's the reason why people play that game. The reason why the game is terrible is because it's fucking terrible.
It's a fucking garbage game. But you know what? I would have much rather Liana K become the voice of feminism in gaming rather than Anita Sarkeesian, because Liana K is actually fucking genuine. She likes playing video games. She actually plays video games, and she understands the point of view of gamers, and she's able to say, hey, you can enjoy your video games. You can enjoy your boobs in video games. You can enjoy your unrelenting violence in video games, because that does not reflect you as a person. She's a very positive voice in gaming, I would say. And I think more people need need to know about her, because I think what she's doing is very important. Also, some of her videos are very funny because she has to talk through cats, because she has a lot of cats, and they like to walk around in front of her and on her keyboard sometimes, and it's kind of funny. One thing she says in one of her videos, I forget which one, but she's like, yeah, whenever I'm in a game that gives me character creator mode, I always go female and I give her the biggest tits and the biggest butt because it's funny. And that's her only reason for doing it. It's because it's fucking hilarious. just to run around and like, in fucking Dragon Age Inquisition with just giant fucking tits and a huge ass, because it's obviously not sexual. It's just fucking hilarious. Go subscribe. She's awesome. Go check her out.
Yeah, just subscribe to this person.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Looks like a pretty interesting channel.
K. Yes.
All right, my last piece of cool shit, for this week is a trombone video. Now those who follow me know that I play trombone.
Oh, it's a cappella.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And this is a guy playing a trombone quintet arrangement of Duel of the Fates from Star Wars on 3 tenor trombones, a bass trombone, and an alto trombone, I believe is what he's using.
Holy shit.
And trombone, I fucking love trombone. It's my instrument. I've been playing it for many, many, many years. And this guy has an incredible channel. An absolutely incredible channel. He is a phenomenal trombonist. One of the best I've ever heard. And he just does arrangements like this. Covers of film themes, video game themes, and things like that. He even did the obligatory We Are Number One video.
Nice.
So if you are at all interested in fun musical arrangements of things, definitely check this guy out. If you want to see some good trombone playing, like, you gotta check this guy. He's a really, really good trombonist.
Yeah, this is really fucking good. Holy shit. All right, I'll go on to my last cool thing, and that's the musician Carl Catron. And if you follow Jim Sterling and watch Jimquisition episodes, you may have noticed playing in the background of his more recent episodes, a saxophone cover of some of the tracks he uses, and those are performed by Carl Catron, who's a musician, and he started up on YouTube, and I'm honestly surprised he's only got like less than 7,000 subscribers, because this guy is fucking amazing with a saxophone. Actually, what I should probably link is one of his most popular videos, or what I think is one of his best videos. I'll link it to you in the Discord, and then I'll link it in in my cool things. Is he did a cover for the upcoming Sonic Mania that's coming out here in I'm guessing the next couple months, honestly. This guy does saxophone covers of
oh god, like this version of the Jimquisition theme song too is my favorite. The one that he did.
Yeah.
The sax version.
This is the guy who did that cover.
This guy is an incredible saxophone player.
Yeah, I just linked my favorite video he's made, and it's the saxophone cover of Hyper Potions and Nitro Fun from the Sonic Mania trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible. The original song is really high energy, and just adding a saxophone riff to it just makes it all the much better. So it's like, again, this guy has less than 7,000 subscribers. His videos get like 10 to 12,000 views, and I think that's like, this guy needs more attention. This guy is fucking amazing. He also does live streams as well. He does live streams of Overwatch as well, but the main focus is his music. And like I said, yeah, he's done covers of Jim Sterling's intro, "Born Depressed," and they're just as awesome. So and they even played on Jim Sterling's episodes, especially the Jimquisition. So if you heard a saxophone cover over on Jimquisition, this is the
This
artist.
is the guy. Yeah, you got to follow this guy. He's a really good saxophone player.
Yeah, he's really fucking awesome. I I don't have anything else to talk about. Fuck.
No, I think that's about it for our episode. Thank you everyone for listening. We have social media; those exist.
Yeah, those exist. We're on the internet.
We certainly have accounts on various websites.
We do things.
But at some point, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna end episodes, because I don't know that we're in the practice of doing that. I think at this point we can start them. I think we can start them, and it's okay.
we finally figured out how to start them. We just need. This is like phone calls with my dad. It's like whenever I call my dad, we don't know how to end phone calls, and they end up going for like 40 minutes.
You're waiting. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording. Bye.
Bye.